G'day gamers, Aussie Wargamer here in Moree, Australia, and welcome to me channel. On this episode, I'll be chatting about me Aleguzzler Gargant conversion, the first model in me potential Cancon army. So let's get to it, eh? I'm still not sure if I'll be going to Cancon next January. It's pretty tricky with both the distance and family, but regardless, I'd like to have my destruction army done for the tournament. The army will be a pirate-themed mixed destruction army, and I really want to work on my sculpting for it. So I'm committed to sculpt something on every model in the army. I recently finished my first model for the army, an Aleguzzler Gargant. I wanted him to be drinking ale from a barrel, so I reposed his left arm to be raised up and pouring some of Bugman's finest down his throat. I needed to push his head up a little bit and resculpt his neck to get his head into a pose that looks like he could be drinking. To make him a little more piratical, I sculpted some belts on his torso and a bandana on his noggin. I also wanted to close in most of the gaps on his pants, so I sculpted some patches to fill those gaps. To sculpt the stitches, I drilled small holes on either side of the patches, rolled out some green stuff into a thin length, and then cut off small pieces with my knife. Using a pointed sculpting tool, I pushed each end of the stitch into each of the holes. It was tedious work, but I think it comes up looking pretty seamless. I made the mast out of an old paintbrush handle, some balsa, and some heavy gauge wire. I wanted to add a little bit more character to the model, and ultimately I want the army to look like a busy day on board an orky pirate ship, so I added some grots to the model, one hanging from the crow's nest as if we were on duty when the giant tore it down, as well as a grot on his shoulder with a mug, hoping for some brew himself, and a couple of grots hauling a barrel across the deck. I tried to age the leather on his belt straps with little scratches and micro detail, and I painted the pants up in a variety of different colours to get that patchwork look. I made the ale pouring from the barrel by heating some clear acrylic rod and bending it to shape. I then mixed some clear yellow and sepia washes into some Vallejo water texture and painted that onto the clear rod, creating a translucent amber colour. I'm pretty stoked with how he turned out, and I'm looking forward to tackling the next model in the army, probably an Iron Blaster, which will be pretty bonza, I reckon. I managed to get in a game of 40k this past week, 1,000 points of me Tzeentch Demons versus me mate Danny's Space Wolves. We played the relic scenario. Danny won the initiative role and gave me first turn, so I basically advanced everything forward, as I've pretty minimal shooting and need to be in my opponent's face pretty early. He shot off both units of Screamers before they could do anything, but over a couple of turns, between good smite casting and me Flamers, I was able to deal with his 2 units of Inceptors. Me Lord of Change and Fate Skimmer got locked in a combat with Danny's Dreadnought, and me Lord of Change just kept on whiffing his attack. The only damage he did throughout the whole game was through smite. The Dreadnought finished off the Lord of Change, and then the Fate Skimmer finished off the Dreadnought. At the end of the 5th turn, I only had 1 blue horror and 2 pink horrors left, and Danny had a unit of 6 intercessors, a rune priest, and a captain. My lone blue horror was holding the relic. If the game continued on a 3-up, there was no way I could win. We rolled the dice, it was a 2, and I stole the victory. I'm still learning both 40k and Tzeentch Demons. I feel like there's a lot of potential there that I'm just not using, but it's been fun and has me keen to get cracking on with finishing painting the army. Well, that's all from me. Thanks for watching, and as always, subscribe if you want to hear more of me voice. Catch us later.